The San Fernando earthquake was one of several earthquakes in California's history that has really profoundly affected both our understanding and, in very practical ways, how we mitigate risk. At the time of that earthquake, we had a large number of dams in California that were built using a hydraulic fill method. And this incident involved the shaking producing liquefaction in the dam itself. What liquefaction is a pronounced loss of shear strength in certain soils under certain conditions. And an earthquake will certainly do that. The material behaves almost like a fluid, which caused a good portion of the dam to slide into the reservoir.
11 million tons of water, enough to start another Johnstown flood, and 80,000 people living in the valley just below.
I started worrying when I saw the first broadcast what was left of the dam. 2 feet of mud's not enough.
You mean you're standing here and the dam's right above your house? And
I'm going to take a chance. I have a boat in the garage, too. I think I'll pull that out, just in case. You never know.
It came within feet of failing. If just another 3 or 4 or 5 feet had collapsed, it would have sent that reservoir into the northeast San Fernando Valley and an estimated tens of thousands, maybe as much as 100,000 people would have been inundated.
At the time of that earthquake, structures that were made of reinforced concrete, according to the building code, could be what we call non-ductile. So they could be strong, but if you deform them very much, they're brittle and they can fail suddenly and collapse. And this happened famously at the Olive View Medical Center in the 71 earthquake.
Olive View, a brand new $40 million hospital dedicated just 6 months ago.
There's tremendous explosion. The whole room was just teetering. Well, when I walked out of the room, the whole wing had fallen off.
it just shook and shook and shook, and the wall just opened up. It scared those, out of me.
The significance of San Fernando is it was the first really damaging earthquake, seriously damaging earthquake in California in many decades at that time. And it really sort of shook up, excuse the pun, the community and certainly the political communities, forced us to start taking earthquake risks more seriously.
I just talked to President Nixon less than a half an hour ago after I finished the briefing session, and he's terribly concerned. He was in an earthquake himself. He happened to be going to Whittier College in 1933 when the Long Beach earthquake occurred.
It was a gigantic spur for the seismic community for the development of new building codes, and it takes years. Building codes aren't just rewritten overnight. It takes years to incorporate the seismic knowledge, and laws are passed, and then it takes years for those laws to turn into regulations and to be funded to do the work.
There are things that everybody can do to help prepare for earthquakes. We should have emergency supplies ready, including water and food that can be prepared without access to power, because we may be on our own. We can also do things to harden our homes. So for example, if your house is not bolted to the foundation, that's a fairly easy repair, not very expensive, and it significantly lowers the risk of your house being lost in an earthquake. Another thing you can do is put in gas shutoff valves. These gas shutoff valves, when shaking happens beyond a certain level, remove the supply of gas to the structure. If the pipes inside of the structure were to be broken for some reason, you want uncontrolled release of gas, which could then lead to a fire.
When the big one hits, most people won't be ready. And earthquakes are so rare that it's just not possible for ordinary people with the stresses of life in Los Angeles, which are quite great, to stay in a state of readiness. I'm not saying that's how it should be, but I don't see that the average Angelino is ever going to be prepared for what happens when there's an 8-point rupture on the San Andreas Fault.